Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amy and today we've got part 7 of my midlife crisis crisis mayhem. So please stay tuned. All right, let's hope that I'm able to speak. I've been having trouble speaking today and enunciating correctly. But we are here for part 7 of this midlife crisis that I've been going through, where I've spent, let's just say, $10,000 on stuff for my Etsy shop. I'm trying to make a legitimate effort to turn my Etsy shop into a decent part-time income. And unfortunately, if you're not overly creative like I am, you have to spend money to make money. So I've got a bunch of bags that I'm going to be hauling today. So basically this big spend started while we were on vacation in Tennessee, and it has continued since we've gotten back home with a deadline in mind. The deadline unfortunately keeps getting pushed off a little bit because we're planning to go back to Quincy, Illinois, and I'm wanting to do some antiquing on the way. So that'll probably be the last big spend, and we're not doing that till the middle of August. But we went through the finances. Jason and I, we created budgets for this, and how much of, like, we each get an allowance, how much of our allowance is going to go to pay this stuff off, how much can I use for buying new things for the business, all that stuff. So we got all of that worked out. The goal, the spending or the selling goals. So we're going to try to, it seems outrageous right now, and it probably will be in the beginning until maybe I start getting a bigger following on Etsy. But the goal is going to be to sell $50 worth a week. And I don't know how long it'll take me to get to that. I've really got to ramp up my inventory, for one thing, so that I have enough things that people might want to buy. But there may be some whatnot auctions thrown into the mix for some things, but I haven't gotten that far into the planning. I'm still trying to deal with the sheer volume of stuff that we've bought. And we did this past week, we had gone to a place called the Chirping Frog on Highway 55 and exit 33, I think, if you're interested. But it's probably one of my favorite antique stores. And we were checking out, and the guy was like, I live in Litchfield, which is like 20 miles north of there, and there's this place on the square, well, on Main Street, I don't know what street it's on, State Street, the Briar Rose, and they have got all of this stuff like you like, and they're trying to get rid of it. And he said that he had been in there and had been getting super old magazines, which I really like super old magazines. And so we made a trip up there, and they had this stuff kind of in, I mean, this is like, it's on the square, or it's on the main street. So these buildings are super old, and so they had them kind of in the back, there's like no air conditioning in this area. And they just had a whole stack of totes, like totes, big size totes, full of stuff. And so we kind of looked at it, and at first I was gonna kind of go through each tote and pick out the things I wanted, but then Jason spoke up and he's like, well, how much would you just sell this whole section for? And so she like left, went away, and I guess thought for a while. And we didn't even know what was in these totes, if it was gonna be worth it or not. Still don't, just to tell you. but she came back and said $300. Well, I thought that was reasonable. I realized you're probably supposed to negotiate back and forth a couple times, but I'm not it's probably not a good business trait, but I'm not into trying to scam people out of their stuff. And so I thought that seemed reasonable, and so we made that purchase. We were only able to get about half of it into the van on that trip, and so we had to make arrangements to go back yesterday to get the other half. And Jason thinks there's about 20 totes. Now, I did see one of those totes was all pens and pencils and drafting pencils and all that stuff, but all the other totes are full of paper of some sort. It could be books, it could be magazines, newspapers. I'm hoping there's some correspondence, but we'll end up going through those together for the first time on screen once I get to that. So, okay, we're 5 minutes in. I haven't shown anything yet, so let's get to it. So these are just other thrift and antique store visits. I found a place that had old paper doll books. So these are Rudolph Valentino, and I paid $4.99 for this. And it is a Dover publication. So Dover, I've talked about this before. I really, really like the Dover publications. Now, I don't know if they were any good back in the day, because I keep finding tons of them. Well, not tons of them, but I keep finding lots of them that were never used. And so this one's from 1979. And it's nice because they're paper dolls, they're plain on the back. And so you can cut them out. But this is probably the more risque of the ones that I found. And there's always these women. So the women are not paper dolls, but they're all of his outfits. And so he would have been, what, a silent movie star, right? And so just great cutouts. So I will probably try to sell these books whole, and then if they don't sell after a certain period of time, then I'll probably come in and start cutting them out. And they tell you at the bottom like what film it was from, and then because I've seen some creators put the paper dolls, or at least the paper doll outfits, in junk journals as ephemera. So anyway, so there was that one. I need to, as I'm going through this with you guys, make piles of what's ready to list, what is going to be broken down, and what I'm not sure about. So that's would be ready to list. And here's another one. This one is Victorian fashion paper dolls from Harper's Bazaar, before they spelled bazaar with 3 A's, 1867 to 1898. I think I've had a similar one to this before that I sold on Whatnot. But they're beautiful. This is this also a Dover? It is a Dover from 1977. Oh, it used to be in the Becky Thatcher bookshop. So maybe that's where this person originally got it, in Hannibal. This one's a little bit different. So we've got multiple women in this book. I guess we probably have these 4 women. So we've got Abigail, and then all of Abigail's clothing. And she's got a couple pages worth of clothing, and her outfits all say Abigail on them. I guess all the women are probably facing a little bit different direction, so maybe they can't share. And then we've got Beatrice. And then we've got Caroline. And even their you know, like, even their, you know, what they've got just for them is pretty before they put on their paper doll clothes. And then we've got Daphne. So that one was pretty neat. And then antique fashion paper dolls of the 1890s from the collection of the Boston Children's Museum. Got some loose tape here on the cover. Let me take that off. So this one we've got, looks like this. This is another Dover book and a little bit different style. Do they have the cutout? Yeah, they have, it's very hard to see, but they do have the little cutout parts. And this one's glossier, I think, than the others were, but let's see what, oh, okay, so we've got two ladies here at the beginning that we get to dress all throughout the book. So those are really neat, or I really like those. Some of them even come with hats, fascinators, whatever you want to call them. So that one's a cool one, I think. And then we've got another one that was $4.99, the Vivian Lee paper doll set. How fun is that? So there should be, what, her Gone with the Wind. And it does say what it's from down here. Let's, if we get the thumbnail, oh no, why am I doing this? Okay, I've been using kind of the same thumbnail for all these videos, and I recognize that some people will then just think it's not a new video, even though I was putting like episode 1, episode 2, and the description's different. So now I'm just putting a big number next to it so that you can tell that the numbers are changing, but I'm using the same thumbnail for all of these videos, which is probably pretty boring, probably doesn't help me get reach new people, but it is what it is. So these are pretty. It's interesting to me when they have, you know, you got to cut out the face part too, because they've added the hair and everything. So that wouldn't be very sturdy. It wouldn't last very long, I wouldn't think, if you actually did cut it out. All right, then this one is Antique Paper Dolls, 1915 to 1920. I don't know why this one came in a plastic thing. This is a 1975 Dover. Oh, so same as me. And so you can tell this one's a little bit different in that it's got, what am I missing? Oh. Okay, these pages are a lot thinner. These pages feel a lot more like your real paper doll, like I remember them. But these are super cute. I really like these. So where is the girl that we are going to? Oh, maybe it's just, no, it can't be this because it's got the stuff in the background, although you could definitely still use that. Aw, but look at these. Those are great. Okay, well, where is the girl? Let me find the girl. Maybe they do expect you to cut her out from the cover, but that just seems like that would be difficult to do. But at least the cover is sturdy. I was expecting, oh, and you've got, oh, well, I've got some other stuff in here. Is it just in the middle? Okay, maybe it's just here in the middle. Oh, so you have lots of ones that you can cut out, although only one, only she can stand, I guess. And then these two can stand. Okay, so those were all the paper dolls, and then yeah, let's look at one more. So those were lovely. And then this one, I don't know what the publication, okay, this one's from 1963 and 1967. Dolls of Other Lands. And so you get to cut or punch out. You can kind of see that. You can punch these out. And then there's the little stand for them. And then the clothes are so cute. So this one honestly is probably my favorite, simply because these I think would be easy to cut out and put in junk journals because they're of their size. They're so tiny. There's not very many. I mean, it's a pretty small book though. So that one, 42 costumes and accessories. But the oldest of them all. Then in one of the shops, I found a set of Sweet Valley twins. Now I read some of these, but this was from my day and age, my decade, the 80s, and so it's $5 for this bundle. I read Sweet Valley High, I liked it more, but then she came out and did the twins ones for when they were younger. And this is quite frankly a better size, but I plan on laminating these covers and making junk journals out of them to appeal to those of us that, I mean, I was born in 75, but let's face it, I don't have a lot of memories before 80s. So for those of us 80s kids, so I got 7 that I can make journals out of. And I don't know, some of them may not be in the best shape, but I think it'll be fine, right? Because it's junk journal. So yeah, I was happy to find that. I'd like to find, if I could find some Sweet Valley High in the wild, I would buy those too, but those are more of your romance style size books. So they would be definitely a smaller size journal. But then I also found what I'm hoping are, and I'm not sure if they may be later editions, but Babysitter's Club. I'm really hoping that I found ones with the original artwork, but I don't think I did. Like these don't, well, it's numbers 1 through 6. Oh no, this is Babysitter's Little Sister. I didn't read those, so I wasn't paying attention, but they were still popular, I believe, so I got these for the same reason. These were a little bit more expensive, $6.50, but shoot. Yeah, I was really just looking for Babysitter's Club, not the Little Sisters version, but that's okay. I got 6. Oh, so not only was it more expensive, I only got 6 books in that bundle, but that's okay. We'll see if anybody likes that still. All right, then I found a Top Value stamp book. I like finding these, pulling the pages out. I'm going to be creating a variety set of these, so you can get a bunch of different colors in one kit. Oh, and here's some that are just loose. That's kind of nice. So a pretty full book of the Top Value ones. And then, okay, that was in, I found an antique store or a thrift store. I don't know. I think it was a resale shop, so I don't know what you call that. But it had like a dollar spinny thing. So I think that was in the dollar spinny thing. This was also in that. So we've got an Indian village from Cherokee, North Carolina. And these will probably just get broken into as ephemera in junk journals. I don't know. I never know if I should try to sell it by itself first, in case there's collectors of Native American indigenous people memorabilia. But there's 10 cards in that. I didn't count to see if all 10 cards were there, but... And then I found some green bingo cards. These are not as common from my experience. So I picked those up, and there's 4. And there's a little bit of damage. But they look old, although this one's not cut very well. So, yeah, I love finding those. You guys know that. And then, what else did I find in the dollar spot? I think maybe this was in the dollar spot. This was famous recipes from old New Orleans, collected for you by the makers of Godot. No. Oh, well, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Godshow sugars. I said I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but then I still did. And they're, I don't know, I like finding these little kind of company-specific recipe books, although they're much better when they have pictures. And this one doesn't appear to have any pictures, except probably the place where they come from. So, but for $1, sure. And something like that, I've seen other people have success selling these as is, so I might give that a try first. But you got to find the right buyer. All right, then I love finding these little booklets from specific manufacturers. Why they put this one upside down, I don't know, because what are you going to use it like that? I don't think so. But anyway, that's what they did. And you can see it's got a bunch of water damage. But it's from 1912, 1913. So that's another, okay, so you can find these in a lot of antique stores for different companies, banks, insurance companies, etc. And they will usually have a calendar in the front page because it was like their memo book of the time. So these are great. Could be great to just cut this out and put this in a journal. You can do the same with the back page because it's got number of pounds to a bushel. Well, that's important to know. So those would make 2 kind of great tags or whatever. And then a lot of them I found have this graph paper, and they usually have a few pages filled in, but then you end up with all this, like I've never found one, I don't think, that's been completely filled out. But then you can just, these can go in a paper pack or in a journal. And then, okay, this I way overpaid for. And I tried to see if I could get a discount, and apparently they were only allowed to call the vendors if it was $25 or more, and this was $24. So, but I went ahead and got it. Probably not very bright of me, but this was the year my dad was born, and I didn't notice till I got home that it was incomplete. It is missing some, well, it's at least got the full calendar page at the front, but it is missing for the daily pages. It doesn't start till February 20th. But then I believe it does go all the way through through the rest of the year. So I will be pulling these off of the ring, and then they will be going in my Expandifile that I've got set up for the different months, so that if people want to personalize a journal once I'm selling them, they can give me maybe a date, and I can look to see if I've got that date and can put it in there. But yeah, $24, so I think way overpriced for something like this, but especially considering it's not complete, but it is $19.49, and I am gonna get a lot of pages out of this. And I've also seen some Etsy sellers sell like a set of 10 pages from old calendars like this. So there's that. And then I've had people tell me, well, figure out what other years 1949 calendars work for, and then market it as, you know, people could use a retro calendar from, you know, in whatever future year. But that one's incomplete, so I will most likely harvest it for parts. All right, there's another bag down. And then this was, I think it looks like from a Salvation Army for $2.99. Just some miscellaneous fabric that I thought I could use my pinking shears on. And let's see what else we have in here. I like the kind of, well, they're kind of like autumny colors, but it reminds me of the 70s. So this is Heat Bond. So package of that in case you wanted to iron on something to your fabric. Here's some loose pages of that. I don't do iron-ons, but maybe this would this work to put some of this on paper, to fuse fabric to paper? That might be interesting. So we just have a little piece of that, and I don't know if these are vintage fabrics or if they're from the local Walmart last year or something, I don't know. But they are just some good scrappy pieces. I'm not very good with fabric, although that's unfair to say. I did make my mom a quilted table runner, and this was back before kids, when you could have a sewing machine just sitting out on the kitchen table and it not get messed with. Oh, that's really pretty. I like that. I like how these all coordinate together too. But I see in my my skill level, I could cut out a piece to make a pocket or a belly band or something out of these. But yeah, I have done legitimate quilting in the past, and I did, in a flood, lost my sewing machine. Now I've bought other like smaller versions of sewing contraptions on Temu, but then I think I got scammed on a Instagram ad for cheap sewing machines from like a Joann clearance, you know, what they couldn't sell in store. They were selling some of them, you know, loose, and I'm starting to think that was not legitimate. But I haven't gotten the shipping notice, which it said I would get, and they are not responding to emails. So yeah, so I think I got scammed on that, which is unfortunate. Okay, so here they've put the fabric on the iron-on stuff, and I guess you would just peel this off and then iron it to something. So yeah, I could definitely probably try ironing that onto paper. And she had some This one says Emmy. This one says Kinsley. So I don't know. Here's another Kinsley. So she had something specific that she was trying to make. Oh, Peanut's gonna sit down on all this fabric under the table. So anyway, there's just a little fabric pack. Salvation Army is good for little things like that, but even they have gotten on the jewelry bandwagon where vintage jewelry is super expensive there too. So I will probably never get to collect vintage jewelry beads, and we'll just deal with buttons. Although buttons are getting expensive also. All right, so there was that little pack. And then I picked up a pack of, well, let's see. This has a variety of things in it, I guess. Looks like we've got, this was also $2.99. So some rust-proof hook and eye loops. And this is great. This is ready as is to go in a journal. And then some snap fasteners. Oh, this one's nice. Some more, I just love stuff like that. I'm highly influenced by the creators that I watch on YouTube and Instagram. So we've got some elastic. So some of the stuff, whoa, some of the stuff is, okay, this is like super thin rickrack. But isn't that adorable? I mean, it looks vintage. So that could just go in a set, or you could take it apart and put this, you know, glue this to the edge of the paper. I probably would definitely, although this one wouldn't show up very well, but since this one's missing its, you know, has already been used, probably, but it's so thin. So I don't know what I'll end up using that for. And more, I don't know what this is. I was gonna say seam binding, but it is super thin, so maybe it's just more elastic. Now these look more like seam bindings. Or, I mean, it looks just like ribbon. Like, I don't know what the difference is between seam binding and ribbon. If it reacts differently to an iron, I don't know. But these would make good edgers, and they were already opened, so I'd be less likely to just leave them intact. Like these ones that are still intact, I could just put this in a binder, because then people that get the journal can, you know, use the paper, they can use there's all sorts of things, but this I'd be less likely. So anyway, there's everything that was in that. That was $2.99. That seems like a good price. I mean, heck, I think that's a good price just for these pieces that are on the cards, and there was only 3, so that's like $1 a piece. So I mean, that's unfortunately kind of what these things cost nowadays. I don't think any of these things had years on them, but it would have been nice if they did. I'm always looking for years to see how old something is, so that I don't have to get out my Google Translate, or not my Google Translate, but my Google picture searcher thingy. And then I picked up this. This is from Sam's Club, so probably not very old. Ribbon, but I thought this would be a good one to use for belly bands because of how wide it is, and I just really liked the limes. and it's a huge roll of it. So that's why I picked that up, and it was $4. Hi, let me take a brief moment out of our video to let you know that today's video is sponsored by Junk for Goats. Junk for Goats is my business where I sell and resell vintage, antique, and some modern ephemera for all of your junk journaling or crafting needs. I have shops on Etsy, Whatnot, and I list my digital items on my coffee shop. All of the links for those are below in the description, so please check that out. It's also important to note that 10% of all the proceeds from my sales are used to purchase goats from Compassion International. Those goats are provided to families across the world to help them meet their own families' needs in terms of their diet, but they can also take and sell the milk and the cheese that they produce from their goats to their friends and family nearby, helping to provide them with a income source that is valuable in the areas in which they live. So if you would like to craft with a difference, please check out the description below. And as always, thank you, and please enjoy the rest of the video. Thanks. All right, and then this, I know I bought some more. This was pretty cheap at an antique resale store, I think. So there's like 10 cards in here maybe. I don't know. I love them so much. And whether you leave them whole or whether you cut out the image, I mean, do whatever you want with it, right? These were originally in somebody's album, but these would be great. But I do like the idea of leaving them whole because someone could, you know, it's already written on and everything, but if they received it in a journal, oh, well, this is not a good example because this one's glued together, so let's find a different one. I mean, as long as you had it loose in there, they could open it up and have all this writing space. So get some vintage historical charm kind of stuff in your journals, but still be functional. And some of these old cards are just beautiful. Like you could frame them. They're so pretty. All right, then I got just a bag of paper. I don't see a price tag on it. We have a roll of old adding machine tape that could be useful for things. Some of this stuff looks like it could be from, you know, the free gifts that you get for donating to St. Jude's and stuff. This is not one of those, but just a pad of paper. Oh, well, we get a lot of Miss Linda Eilert. So yeah, that seems like it would have come from like a charity kind of place. And they're such small little pads. But who doesn't like, yeah, Feeding America. So who doesn't like, that gives you just a variety of paper. Well, there's another one of those. Yeah, just paper. Fun shaped and decorated paper that I keep showing you guys upside down. Botanical junk journal kit. This one's got, so we've got some nice long sheets here, and then the back, I mean, it's a magnet, but then it also has detachable bookmarks. So that's kind of neat. If you've got a pet kind of journal kit. So yeah, so yes, it says Ms. Linda Eilert, but in the junk journaling world, we don't care. We don't care about that. Are these address labels? Oh no, it's just more patriotic kit. So So yeah, I've bought several bags like this over the months, and they've almost always been from, you know, those charitable companies, but I think they're great. They're great size, everything. All right, then I got this. I've got a book just like this, the same book probably, but I think this is a much later edition than the one I have. But this one, let's see what year this one is from. Do you guys remember? I'm old enough that I took typing classes in school and would have had a book like this that would fold back so that you could type whatever the instructions were on the page. Now, they don't still offer typing, but so it makes me wonder how fast kids nowadays can type, and if they've come up with a different fingering method than what we were taught as actual, you know, for actual typing. Obviously on their phones, they're kind of going like this, which is, I'm terrible at that. But yeah, it does make me wonder. Okay, this one's from 1962. I think I have one from the 40s maybe. So the pictures might be a little bit different, and but yeah, you guys remember having, and how fast can we type? Now I type fast, over 100 words a minute. Beyond that, I'm not sure, but it is super fast. But yeah, it makes me wonder how quickly the youth of today. But I also like how in the beginning it's got, you know, pictures of the typewriter, the proper way to sit and have everything positioned. So yeah, so I love that, and I don't see a price on this one. All right. Next, Babysitter's Guide. And it had like these little instruction memo pad kind of thing. So I thought that was neat. It's only got aging kind of on this first page, but I thought that was cute. And oh, and it's just come out of this little thing over here, so there's still a few more pages in, maybe one page. It looks like it would come out based on that. So so yeah, so I wouldn't normally have looked at something like this, but somehow I did, and then I saw these and I was like, that's great. But I don't know, I don't have any idea what the age is of that. Oh man, well, I way overpaid for that. That was $11.50. I don't think it was worth $11.50. So I've got to get some things. That's why I'm hoping that out of that 20 tote $300 deal that I get a bunch of stuff that's like worth it, because of these other things that I foolishly overspend on. All right, this was $10, and it is an old street guide for St. Louis. I have a, does it have a year? It says 1956, and it's a pocket edition. I have a bigger one from the 70s that I really like. So I liked finding this one because of the size of the pages, and at least in this one, they're all yellow. So usually what I do when I find one of these is I find the pages that have all the places I've lived here in town, and I save those for my personal collection, and then I put the, so I'll unroll them off of here. I used to just tear them out, but I don't do that anymore, because maybe I would want to put Maybe I'd want to, for my binder, punch it over here and then put ribbon through here or something. So, new streets and changes. That's interesting. And then Lucky Star. Save this cover. It's a music book. $10. Also probably overpaid on this. But it did have somebody's. That's really cool. So ultimately, I was just buying it for the paper. Some really expensive, because there's not hardly anything in here. This is probably $1 a page. That's ridiculous. But I'm a sucker sometimes. What can I say? What can I say? All right, and then this one, $7 for this book, Nature Anatomy. And I was hoping that it would be kind of illustration, since this part is illustrated. And I mean, that's great for making tags and stuff out of. And what year is this? It's probably not very old. 2015, so yeah, still in the new state, so to speak. Even though it's 10 years old, it's still got 10 more to go to be vintage. So it's, I don't know. It's a different style than I'm used to, but it does have a lot of great images. Oh, there's some good ones that I would like. Anatomy of a Butterfly. So it's got a lot of good bats. I mean, who doesn't like bats? Cats of the air. Oh, and birds, yeah. Oh, and eggs. So yeah, it had a lot of good pictures in it. That I think justifies the $7. I mean, heck, Barnes & Noble or Books A Million, you'd be paying more than that. All right, now this one, I think I might have overpaid on. Yeah, I bought two. She had two, so I bought two. $15 a piece, but they're floral transfers. And so it's just full of, instead of buying like the transfer patterns like sewing patterns, you buy this book. So I am planning to cut these up and put these in journals. And I just thought this was fabulous. And are they front and back? Please tell me they're not front and back. No, they're plain on the one side, so you can cut them out and not worry about the image on the back. But I thought this was so great that I had to buy both of them. Letters. So yeah, I thought those were, tell me, was it worth $15? I think I'll get a lot out of it. I'll be able to cut it up into a lot of different pieces. All right, then found another probe game. I love finding these. And is this the one? Okay, this is the one I've already started preparing to sell. So if you're not familiar with probe, you make up words and people have to guess if you have, like, do you have any O's in your word? And then you have to flip them over if they guess the letter you've got. There's these dots that you put at the beginning or the ending of your word so that nobody knows exactly how long your word is. And so it's just all these letter. So I've already made up some packs, some A to Z packs. And then I'll be listing just the letters, because I also have, the game only has enough. It has 4 different colors for the backs, 4 different colors, and within each color there's only 2 full sets, A to Z. So then you're left with these other ones that I can then, people can buy the letters individually, kind of thing, kind of idea. So I've already started, like I said, getting these ready. I have the listing ready. I just don't have the, excuse me, the pictures taken. That's like the, that's not the worst part of listing things on Etsy. Really, creating the listing is, unless you're able to copy a listing, but taking the pictures is kind of a pain too. And I can't find anybody in the family that wants to be that person for me. So it's me. So yeah. So, okay, I found, I don't know if it was that one or another one, but I found one for $10, and I found that first, so I bought it. Then I found one for $6.50. So I bought it too, because I'm like, well, I already spent $10 for one, so $6.50 seems like a bargain. And people like letters and stuff. Obviously, they like the Scrabble tiles so that they can create specialized things, right? Drinking my chocolate milk, sorry about that. So yeah, so yeah, so now I'm overloaded with probe cards. All right, then this one, I don't know why it wasn't in the same bag as the other, because I found it in the same place, but this is that Kate Greenaway again, and another Dover one. This is probably from the 80s, because I think they started using this kind of symbolism in the 80s. Oh, but it says 72. Okay, well, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But this was Mother Goose. And what I also like about, once you get into these, they have examples on the inside cover, and these would be great to cut out. They're almost postcard sized. And so I'll be harvesting, well, if this book doesn't sell on its own, I will probably try to just list it on its own. But this one, oh, this one's a coloring book, not a paper doll book. So forgive me, it's the coloring books that I usually see this on, because that's Dover coloring book, duh. So I like finding these, and that's why there's examples on the front. Although, truth be told, I don't think these examples are in the book. They are sometimes, but sometimes not. So these seem like really intricate coloring books for back in the day. I don't know that, like nowadays you can find adult coloring books all over the place, super popular. I just don't know if they were that popular back in the day, unless you had some kids who really liked to color. Like, I don't think adults were really coloring that much. Okay, please get your butt off of my foot. Sorry. So super pretty. And like I said, Kate Greenaway, I really like her artwork. All right, then last for this episode, but certainly not least, this was only $5. Hang on. Peanuts moved, so now my leg is kind of in the way. And I forget that I have these joints that don't like sitting cross-legged very well. So you guys know or maybe you don't, but if you don't, I will tell you that in most antique stores, you can find tons and tons of these collectible books where you get, they price and tell you what all these antiques are worth. Well, I happened to find this one for Raggedy Ann, and I was like, I really like Raggedy Ann. I've been starting to buy some Raggedy Ann books because I really like the illustrations in the books, especially the colored ones. And you guys, look at all these things I can cut out that are Raggedy Ann specific. So you can find these kind of books on glassware, baseball cards, furniture, all that stuff. But I really like ones like this because Raggedy Ann was crossed so many different types of collectible things. Like, as you can see here, you could get a clock, you could get a doll, you could get a book, you could get dishes, luggage, you know, all this stuff. And so I feel like the pictures that are in here are just so much better designed for a junk journaler who wants to harvest. Like, I really wish I could find another one of these so that I could get a complete set of the images cut out. Because unfortunately, with these, I'm gonna have to pick and choose. When I tear out a page, I'm gonna be like, okay, which page do I like best? And the other side, oh well. And I could obviously keep it whole and just fold it up and put it in somebody's thing, but then it's got fold marks on the pictures, and I'm not as big of a fan of that. And I want to have journaling cards because I'll probably back them onto some paper if I craft with them, or it'll just be, they'll be sold as image packs. But I love it, you guys. I love it so much. So whenever you're antiquing, don't overlook these kind of books because you might be surprised. I'd love to find a Holly Hobby one of these, if there is such a thing. And what else? I don't know, if they had one of these for Peter Rabbit, that would be awesome. But you know, those are kind of the stuff I think about. Like Winnie the Pooh, I don't know if they would have done things like that, but those seem highly collectible to me. And so yeah, so finding a book that has all those images. I also have a book that I've shown you guys before, that it's a book like that for Hummels, and it's got a ton of stuff to cut out too. And those are great too when you're just sitting watching TV. You could be cutting those out at the same time. And then, like I said, I could take these and, you know, cut this out, glue it to either one of my own printables or to some tea-dyed paper, or, you know, something like that, so that people could write on the back, you know, as a true journaling card or tag. So I don't know, I think that's great. Obviously, if I took the time to back it onto something, I could sell it for more than just cutting out the image. So, or it would be an extra cool thing in a journal. So anyway, so that's my haul for this episode. Oh, I've got one more thing. Burger King cards, a little deck of cards. And Jason found these. But they are, I don't know, I don't know how old they are. Does it say? It says January through April 12. So I don't know if that means they came, oh yeah, 2012. But they're just some fun little cards to use. These would be great. And so this is what they look like on the other side. These would be great in a corner of a page where you glue like this, and then you can slide stuff up under them. So not old per se, but still pretty fun. And I'm coming more along the lines that not everything in my journals will need to be vintage, as long as it's fun, right? So, okay, so that's the end. If you want to be if you want to be in the know for when new things are going to get listed in my shop, which is going to be happening soon, and heck, maybe this email has already gone out by the time this video airs, get on my mailing list. because I will be like sending the people on the mailing list the things that are coming out in my shop. And you want, if you're following me and you're supporting this channel, you want to be in the know. And as a thank you for that, you get a printable of my awesome seed packets that I created, the Junk for Goats Seed Company, which I printed off and then I backed with, I have ledger paper or a ledger printable that I backed mine on. So, and these are only available, they're not available in my digital shop on Ko-Fi. They're only available to people that join the mailing list. And that's just my thank you for that. And be sure to, if you're interested, be sure to put your birth date in. I don't ask for the year, don't worry, because each month I'll be sending out a free digital to everybody that has a birthday that month. And I will wait till the end of the month because I know I have at least one person that had a July birthday, so I'll be waiting till the end of the month just to make sure I don't miss anybody that signs up by the end of the month. So you probably get it at the beginning of the next month if your birthday was the prior month. Because don't you hate signing up for a mailing list and you put your birthday in, but your birthday was like 2 days ago and then you have to wait a whole year before you get your reward? No, we don't want to do that here. So if you're signed up by the end of the month of your birthday, you will get the free digital. And one of you was so kind to remind me that not everybody has printers, and so I could sell my digitals in paper form, which I'm going to be looking at doing that too. So, but thank you for coming along this journey with me, and I've got more stuff coming, so be sure to check back. And remember, my thumbnails are all kind of look the same, but if you're subscribed and you click the bell, it'll pop up when I have a new video. So if something pops up, you don't have to worry about it being an old one that you already watched. So let's finish up with our nostalgic TV trivia and let's see how we do. All right. Name the home inhabited by the ghost and Mrs. Muir. What was the housekeeper's name on The Courtship of Eddie's Father? Who starred as Jack Brennan, on Paris 7000? In what year was the original Buck Rogers series first telecast? The Flintstones is reminiscent of what famous Jackie Gleason series? What city is the setting for Ryan's Hope? Mr. Peepers taught what subject on Mr. Peepers? And what animated cat has a lisp? All right, I don't know very many of these. I'll say that up front, but let's see how we do. Name the home inhabited by the ghost of Mrs. Muir. No idea, pass. What was the housekeeper's name on The Courtship of Eddie's Father? I have no idea, but since we can just name a name, I'm gonna say Edith. Who starred as Jack Brennan on Paris 7000? I have no idea. I've never heard of that show, so I'm going to say Frank. In what year was the original Buck Rogers series first telecast? Now, I did watch that show. I really liked that show. It had the lady on it that ended up being the lady on Silver Spoons. Was her name Erin Gray? But I can't remember the guy that played Buck Rogers' name. But for some reason I want to say 1972. But I don't know if that's right because I watched that, but I don't know if I watched reruns of it. But I'm going to say 72. The Flintstones is reminiscent of what famous Jackie Gleason series? Well, we've talked about that on here before, The Honeymooners. What city is the setting for Ryan's Hope? Whenever we don't know the name of a city for a soap opera, we say Springfield. And Mr. Peepers taught what subject on Mr. Peepers? Well, I kind of want to say reading because his name is Mr. Peepers and that reminds me of eyes and you need eyes for reading. But I'm going to say science and maybe regret it. What animated cat has a lisp? Well, that's Sylvester, isn't it? And how horrible to give the poor lisping cat a name like Sylvester, right? Because he tawdy-taw putty tat. So, okay. Let's see how we did. Name the home inhabited by the ghost of Mrs. Muir. Gull Cottage. So was that like a English kind of a show? Like that, all that, like the name Muir and Gull Cottage makes me think English, but maybe it was like a seaside town? I don't know. What was the housekeeper's name on the courtship of Eddie's father? Oh, Mrs. Livingston. But her first name was Edith, right? Who starred as Jack Brennan on Paris 7000? Oh, George Hamilton. Okay, Mr. Tan Man. George Hamilton. Okay, well, I never watched that. Now, I did watch, Love at First Bite, the movie with him and the lady from Kate and Allie and Macmillan and Wife. I want to say Susan something. That may not be right. Right? She was in Love at First Bite, wasn't she? Was he like a vampire? I don't know. I watched that show multiple times. It was probably on USA or something like that. So that's my main knowledge of George Hamilton. In what year was the original Buck Rogers series first telecast? Oh, wow, 1950. Okay, so that's probably not the one that I remember. So maybe the one that I remember was like Buck Rogers 21st Century or something like that. So, okay, 1950. Well, wow. The Flintstones is reminiscent of what famous Jackie Gleason series? The Honeymooners. What city is the setting for Ryan's Hope? New York? I thought they were always like little towns. Guess not. Mr. Peepers taught what subject on Mr. Peepers? Oh, yay, it was science. Woo! Maybe we've had that a similar card to that before, because I'm not sure why science was on my mind. And what animated cat has a lisp? Sylvester. So I got the Honeymooners, Science, and Sylvester for 3 out of 8. Not too bad for me. I hope you did well. Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for your support. Let me really quick log in so I can thank my members. But thank you if you're a subscriber. Thank you. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you'll consider subscribing so that we can continue to produce this awesome content of how I spent my midlife crisis money. And I didn't have any money budgeted for midlife crisis, as you can well imagine. All right. Thank you to my members, Miss Mary, Julie, KT, Favorites with Laura, Miss Darlene, Hey Everybody, and Miss Pam. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And yeah, if you weren't aware, comments, likes, subscriptions, all that stuff is really helpful to a YouTube channel, and it helps YouTube know to share that with more people. So if you are so inclined to support me in that way, I would really appreciate it. But I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable, so thank you for spending it with me. And I hope you'll come back for our next episode in this series. And I do have other episodes that I filmed for those of you that really like the ASMR, but I keep filming these because I've got to get the stuff, like all this stuff that I'm filming for the next several videos is stuff that's just sitting in the kitchen. So I've got to get it out of the kitchen so we can cook again. And so that's where my priorities have gone. And so someday there will be these other videos that will come out. Maybe I can mix them in, but just stay tuned and come back. I appreciate you. Wherever you are, whenever you are, I hope you're having a great day. And until we meet again, take care of yourself.